He's responsible for the day-to-day operations of USD's Sioux Falls Campus. Jay worked for over a decade as a management consultant, including working with the Municipal League of Indiana, I believe, among others. See, I'm going off script, so I have to see how many frowns I can get from Jay. But he worked with government agencies, and he spent 8 years working for the Central Office of the South Dakota Board of Regents. He's a past member of the Rotary Club of Fort Pierre, and I hope you will welcome Jay Parry, who is a member of the Downtown Sioux Falls Rotary Club. Dr. Parry.
Well, thank you very much for the invitation. I'm really looking forward to be here. I've been a visitor to this club a couple of times before. So I've only been working for USD for a little over 2 years now, but I have a personal connection with USD that goes much further back. And if you will give me 2 minutes to indulge me on a personal story. A little over 30 years ago, I was a less than mediocre college student at a small college in southern Indiana. I'd never been to South Dakota, probably didn't even know where South Dakota was at that time. And I got on the right track as a student, became serious about my studies thanks to the mentoring of a professor named Dr. David Guggen. And this is Dr. Guggen you see up here on the bench. That bench on my campus, alma mater's campus, is called Guggen's bench. That's where he would sit, and when you walked by, he would yell your name out, and you hoped he didn't see you walk by, but if he yelled your name out, you had to go sit by him. He'd tell you all the things you were doing wrong and how you could do them right. And I've sat on that bench many, many a days. And when I decided to go back to graduate school, I literally did it so I could pay forward what David Guggen had done for me as a college student. And today there's a plaque on that bench, and I'm going to read it real quick, that says, "In memory of Dr. David Guggen, affectionately known as the Leopard, whose provocative teaching and mentoring style shaped the minds of more than 3 decades of University of Evansville students. Dr. Guggen taught political science and international studies at UE from 1971 to 2004. His constant advice administered from this bench during his tenure was think." So, as I came to South Dakota and got to learn about the traditions in South Dakota and learned about USD, a little over 10 years ago, I learned about, the legendary Doc Farber, and it always was in my head that very similar people, very similar approaches, and very similar influences on their students. Well, then Dr. Guggen passed away, and I read his obituary, and I got to meet some people who knew him in his younger days. And what I did not know for 3 decades, but he was from Millbank. He went to the University of South Dakota, where he flunked out. And then after a couple of years in the Air Force, he called his USD mentor, Doc Farber, who got him back into college, told him to get on the straight and narrow, and went on, got a PhD, et cetera. So while I'm fairly new to the USD community, I am unquestionably a product of USD's tradition of going the extra mile for students and to get the most out of them, and I hold that very dear to myself today. So now I'll move on to what I'm actually here to talk about. But in June of 2002, USD officially became a multi-campus university. And what I want to do briefly is talk about how that came to be, what we were actually doing at the USD Sioux Falls campus, and how I believe that campus can help not just the future of the university, but also directly in a positive way impact the future of the Vermillion campus as well. For quick background, as you all know, Sioux Falls is the state's largest city. It's never had an actual public university. There's 2 great private schools, there's a great technical college, but had never had a public university, a real public university presence. And then in the 1990s, the Board of Regents established a partnership between SDSU, USD, and DSU on the campus of Southeast Tech. They called it USD-Sioux, and started offering programs and courses. That was successful enough in 2009, 2010. The partnership moved to a 3-building campus in the northwest corner of Sioux Falls, and they changed the name to the University Center. And its enrollment started very strong, and it was strong for a couple of years, and then a series of trends started happening between from about 2012 on, that made enrollment decline pretty significantly. And we'll just touch on those briefly. First, the number of high school graduates in South Dakota was shrinking. Between 2000 and 2015, the number of high school graduates in the state of South Dakota declined by over 1,000, which is about a 13% loss in high school graduates. You can't have college freshmen if you don't have high school graduates. Second, the cost of tuition was rising in South Dakota public universities. Between 2010 and 2016, tuition rose 57% at our public universities. That made it even worse at this site in Sioux Falls. The authorizing legislation that created that allowed the Board of Regents to offer programs at that site where the University Center was and USD-Sioux Falls is now, required that tuition be higher than it was on main campus, either here or in Brookings or in Madison with DSU. In fact, in 2021, right before this became USD-Sioux Falls, the cost of a bachelor's degree at the Sioux Falls site was $12,000 more than it was if you came to, just in tuition cost, than if you came to Vermillion to do it. So we began to price ourselves out of the market in Sioux Falls. Third, there was a rapid growth of online programs, which meant there were fewer students taking face-to-face courses. Then, of course, COVID hit, and so we had more students who were delaying college, foregoing college. That hurt enrollment too. And then one thing I don't have on here that was certainly didn't help, and Mike Card knows this better than anybody, administratively, it was very difficult getting USD, SDSU, and DSU to play together to make collective decisions that were in the best interests of students and the community rather than the best interests of individual universities. Lots of fighting over staffing, tuition dollars, programs to be offered, et cetera, et cetera. In 2020, the legislature passed a bill called Senate Bill 55 that required a special task force to look into efficiencies in the university system at all the universities. It specifically required a review and recommendations on what to do with that site in Sioux Falls, the University Center. And as a result of that study, the Board of Regents came up with a plan to do what they probably should have done all along, put that under one university, and that was when we made the transition to the University of South Dakota-Sioux Falls. Why did USD get it? USD wanted it. And the other institutions, I don't think, had the vision to see what President Gestring saw, and is beginning to see the fruits of that vision too, which I'll get to in a second. At this point, and this would be, I think, the right question, is why do we think what we are doing in Sioux Falls is going to work now when it hasn't worked to the extent that we wanted to do in the past? And that's because I would tell you that the situations is very different today than it was even 5 years ago at that site. The first major difference is that USD-Sioux Falls now has competitive tuition. USD and the Board of Regents were able to go to the legislature and get tuition there aligned with main campus tuition. So we are now financially competitive. That's important in Sioux Falls, where a lot of those students are highly cost conscious when they are considering college options. I can just tell you that most of you are familiar with the federal Pell Grant, which is kind of a barometer we use to measure low-income students on a campus. The Pell Grant usage at the USD-Sioux Falls campus is double what it is on main campus. These are very cost-conscious students, and we just saved them $12,000 in getting a bachelor's degree over the course of 4 years. So that is important. Branding is incredibly important. My discussions in the community in Sioux Falls have suggested that people were confused about what a USDSU was or did. People were confused about what the University Center was or did. But when you say USD and put that name in front of something, there's a known reputation and an immediately recognized brand. Students, families, businesses that are looking for future workforce, or perhaps looking for interns in the short term, potential scholarship donors. They know USD in a way that they did not understand the other attempts to brand, and that is making a huge difference in what we are doing there. Another important aspect is that the landscape is very different as far as available students in Sioux Falls. I'm going to talk about that more here in a second, but South Dakota as a general has a shrinking K-12 population. In contrast, Sioux Falls has a growing K-12 population. There are almost 1,000 more expected high school graduates in Greater Sioux Falls in 2025 than there were in 2022. There are more than 1,000 new graduates expected in the class of 3034. Those estimates are the static estimates of what we know the enrollment is right now in the K-12 system. As people continue to move to Sioux Falls, those numbers will only grow. So we have a built-in pool of students in that region that we can recruit from. Another difference that we have at the new setup with the USD-Sioux Falls is finally the fruition of the USD Discovery District. The USD-Sioux Falls shares land with the Discovery District. It's about 100 yards outside of the front door of our administration building on that campus. And for years, the Discovery District was an unrealized concept. But today, we're just a few months from the completion of the first building there. It should be done by the end of December. It's currently under construction. This is what it's going to look like when it is done. And if you aren't familiar, this building, the Discovery District, is going to be the first building of a research park. That's a partnership between USD and state government, local government. And the intent is for the Discovery District to eventually include businesses and research facilities, primarily in biotech, biomedical fields, coexisting along mixed-use commercial space, apartments, restaurants, students all mixing in that space in a way that the state and USD are hopeful will transform the economy in that region and get us into new areas that we have not been as competitive in the past. When it is finally up and operational, Vermillion and Sioux Falls students are going to have access to cutting-edge research. They're going to get to know scientists and entrepreneurs on a one-on-one basis. They're going to have opportunities for very highly sought-after internships and potential job opportunities after they graduate. And lastly, we've changed the focus in Sioux Falls a little bit different from what we've done in the past. We've been able to do that because we have one institution making the decisions there now. You know, main campus here in Vermillion is the flagship university of the public university system. That also means it has a statutory mission to serve the entire state of South Dakota. The Sioux Falls campus, however, has the luxury of only worrying about Greater Sioux Falls. And so any new academic programs, anything that we're trying to do in that area is specifically going to be tied to the needs of Sioux Falls. And a prime example of that is last year we launched our education degree at USD-Sioux Falls. The reason why we launched that degree is because the Sioux Falls School District is trying to develop more teachers to combat the teacher shortage from within their own school district. They want students who have come from their student body. They want people who are staff or paraprofessionals within their school district to go on and get their degrees. So they're trying to fulfill those needs from within. And they've established this teacher pathway program where they'll provide a couple of education courses at the college level. The school district will. They'll guarantee student teaching placement in Sioux Falls. They'll guarantee job placement after you graduate in Sioux Falls. It made sense that if you have a body of students who live in Sioux Falls, have identified their desire to spend their professional careers in Sioux Falls, teach in Sioux Falls, to just stay there and get their education degree right in Sioux Falls. So what does that campus look like today? For one, we are a non-residential campus, so no dorms. We are a commuter campus. If a student wants the traditional college experience, if you want to go to a football game, if you are into clubs, fraternities, and sororities, you are not coming to the Sioux Falls campus. Those students are going to come to Vermillion because this is not that traditional college on-campus experience is not what we are doing in Sioux Falls. And that way, what we are doing at the Sioux Falls campus complements rather than competes with the main campus here. With very few exceptions, there are exceptions, but with very few exceptions, our students were highly unlikely to ever come to Vermillion in the first place. In fact, I tell most people, most of our students weren't going to go to college if they didn't come to us. So it's a very different student body than you see here on the main campus. Physically, we're small. We have 3 buildings. We have the administration building that houses our health sciences programs. Also things like the business office where you have to go there occasionally to pay a bill, the IT help desk, those kinds of things. We have the Graduate Education and Research Center building, also known as the GEAR Center. Some people here who I think are familiar with that. That's home to our biomedical engineering programs. It's also an incubation space for very early stage startup companies and businesses in the life sciences, biotech, and medtech industries. And the third building is our science and tech building that houses all the other academic programs, classrooms. We're the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute, which provides non-credit courses to a target audience of people age 50 and over in Sioux Falls, in Brookings, in Vermillion as well. Last year, we had a total enrollment count of about 790 students that we were serving out of that site. Those students can study at about 20 different degree programs that are available there. On the undergraduate side, our focus is on business, healthcare, and education, but we also have a few programs that are high demand by students programs that are not necessarily workforce programs, psychology, sociology, criminal justice that are pretty successful there. Nursing is our biggest undergraduate program, again, aligning with local workforce needs. So, and I point out that doesn't mean there isn't nursing at the Vermillion campus. You can have the option of either campus to study nursing, as is the case with most of our programs. So how has that all been working so far? Well, in the first full year that we were USD-Sioux Falls, enrollment grew by 3.5% and credit hours grew by 7%. As of this week, as we look forward to next fall and in year 2, and again, I'm going to tell you these numbers. They are not official, and I don't like to count chickens before they are hatched. But as compared to this time last year, we are up 14% in head count. We are up 20% in credit hours, and a little over 30% in projected revenue, which is always important. But a lot of ground to cover before the semester starts, so don't hold me to those numbers. But the point is, things are going well. It's starting to resonate in the community. Again, I think that branding of having that USD name and that tuition is really what is driving the success there. And I'll conclude by telling you why I think the Sioux Falls campus is good for USD as a whole and also good for Vermillion specifically. A highly visible presence in Sioux Falls for USD is imperative given the growing footprint of the city. And I know that many people in South Dakota get frustrated and get tired of hearing about Sioux Falls. When I lived in Pierre, I had this same, now I'm professionally paid to be a Sioux Falls cheerleader, but I get it. There's Sioux Falls fatigue, right? But let me share a few demographic facts that illustrate why USD needs that visible presence on the Sioux Falls, that the Sioux Falls campus can bring to the Sioux Falls community. Sioux Falls has doubled in population since the year 2000. In the last census decade, so 2010 to 2020, South Dakota as a state grew by 72,000 people. 2/3 of that was in Sioux Falls. The Census Bureau is estimating an additional 50,000 people will move to Sioux Falls in the next 10 years. For context, if those 50,000 people formed their own city, it would be the 3rd biggest city in South Dakota. The Census Bureau actually just a couple of months ago declared Sioux Falls to be the fastest growing city in the Midwest. The city of Sioux Falls now represents a little over 1/3 of the state's population. It is over 1/3 of the state's K-12 population, so the future students that are going to go to college. It's actually about 38% of the state's workforce is currently in greater Sioux Falls. All of those, if you look at the trends, those numbers are expected to just keep growing and getting more disproportionately high in Sioux Falls compared to the rest of the state. If you want to recruit out-of-state students, well, 3.5 million tourists visit Sioux Falls every year, and that Sioux Falls campus is going to give a visibility with the branding of USD that you would not otherwise have. And lastly, 1/3 of the current USD alumni base lives in Greater Sioux Falls. So if Vermillion or USD as a whole wants to raise money from their donor base of alumni, your first stop is the city of Sioux Falls, whether you want to go there or not. So those things, I know people don't always like them, but those are all truths, and having that Sioux Falls campus for USD adds some visibility that we're going to need, because the next few years the road is going to get a little bit rough when you're recruiting students. So most of the people in higher ed today are talking about this period that is coming up that they're all calling the enrollment cliff, and that's due to the decline in the number of projected high school graduates nationally and regionally. For context, between today and 2037, there's expected to be a 9% drop nationally in the number of high school graduates. In Midwest, there will be an 11% drop in the number of high school graduates. The 3 states that we recruit the most heavily for out of state at USD, Minnesota, Nebraska, and Iowa, the projections are for 2037, Minnesota is going to have 3,500 less graduates every year, Iowa 2,000 less graduates every year, and Nebraska 1,000 less high school graduates every year. That's a tough landscape for USD to enter, to recruit, to keep Vermillion strong, to keep the campus strong. But an hour up the road, you have Sioux Falls, which is countering all of these trends. It's a place where the population is growing, where the number of high school graduates are growing. And dominating that Sioux Falls market provides one of the best options for keeping enrollment high as a whole and keeping that enrollment in Vermillion. I think the Sioux Falls campus actually gives a pretty significant advantage to USD and to the Vermillion campus. And just as a couple of examples, students are going to grow up in Sioux Falls, driving past that campus, seeing that USD sign. They're going to see USD on billboards. There's the USD Foundation presence in downtown Sioux Falls. They also have offices here in Vermillion too. But that subliminal messaging will resonate over time with students. Moreover, those students are coming, those Sioux Falls-based K-12 students are coming to USD Sioux Falls for events. We host a regional spelling bee, for example. We host events like the OmniTech Inspire event that you see pictured here, where I think 300 women, young women between 8th grade and 12th grade interested in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math courses come to learn about career options, and whether they are inundated with USD messaging everywhere they go. That kind of thing will have a big payoff for those folks who want that traditional college experience. And a lot of those students, I think, will come down to the Vermillion campus. And lastly, having that Sioux Falls campus offers some flexibility for students that I call on-ramps or a gateway to the Vermillion campus. We have some students, as happens, who want to save money and live at home the first year of college. They may want to take their general education courses there. They're not quite sure what they want to what they want to major in before they come to the Vermillion campus. They may not be emotionally mature enough. They may have a family commitment, something there that keeps them from immediately coming to Vermillion. In the past, those Sioux Falls-based students who weren't ready immediately to come to Vermillion for that on-campus experience, they were going to be lost to USF, or they were going to be lost to Augie, or they were going to be lost to online programs, including those not offered by USD. Now we have this USD campus in Sioux Falls. You can come do that year there, and then you're not even transferring when you come to Vermillion, because it's all part of the same institution. It's an easy gateway, easy step between the two campuses, which again I think gives USD a pretty unique advantage. So I'll close by saying that I am incredibly optimistic about the future of that Sioux Falls campus in terms of enrollment, but also how it can contribute to USD overall. I will also remind everybody that that student body in Sioux Falls is a very different student body than you have here, and so the Sioux Falls campus is not a threat in any way to Vermillion. It is literally, I think, will help long-term what you're doing in Vermillion as a community, and I'm just appreciative that you gave me the opportunity to come and talk to you, and I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has any. So, yeah.
Do you offer night classes?
We do. They're not exclusively night classes. We're looking to offer some more. We've got a couple of things we're looking to expand some offerings in that would be exclusively night classes, but we have a good breadth of classes, and we have a very varied student body. We have a handful of the traditional age students. We have some that are young adults. We have returning adult learners, which is the group that really prefers the night classes, and so we try as best we can to hit all of those without trying to teach 3 sections of the same course and making it inefficient. So yes, yeah.
Where do your teachers come from?
Great question. There's probably, between the health sciences and other departments, there are probably ballpark 30 faculty members whose full-time is assignment to the Sioux Falls campus. The rest of them drive up a day or two a week from Vermillion to teach, and then as you know, it's 2024 higher ed, there's also a handful of adjuncts that are from the local region that fill in the remaining parts. Yeah.
You talked about the 3 large programs now and a few smaller ones.
Yes.
Where do you see future growth? Do you see certain programs being added to the Sioux Falls campus?
There are. We're trying to figure out, this one's not a secret, we're trying to figure out how, again, anything we do that's new is going to directly tie to a workforce need in that region. And one of the things that we have heard from the most people in our conversation, I've spent a lot of time trying to pick the brains of people in the Sioux Falls community in the last 2 years, graduate business programming. How can we, I mean, there's always the online option, but for the working person who's at First Premier or, you know, one of the big ad agencies or whatever, but who still wants that face-to-face experience. So we're exploring right now, I've been a lot of work with the School of Business on how to do some of that programming. I think we will also be looking at expanding potentially some options with healthcare as that just continues to explode. Well, it's a need for everybody, but that Sioux Falls unquestionably a headquarters for healthcare and frankly one of the best places to go in the region if you are a undergraduate health science major of some kind and you need a clinical placement. There's an awful lot of, there's more there than there are probably in the rest of the state combined. So I would say that we're looking at graduate business and how we can fit that into Sioux Falls, and then perhaps expanding some of the healthcare options as well. And then I will say, it's the unknown, what is, if someone has a program like the teacher pathway program that again is trying to fill a specific need that can be done at the 4-year or graduate level, we'll go have those conversations. And I'm sure there's something that we don't even know about yet that'll come on board in the next couple years too. So, Mike.
One thing that I've become aware of is the number of people who left college early who are able to complete their degrees at USD-Sioux Falls because of the variety of classes offered at the variety of times. Any idea what the number is? I just haven't.
No, I don't. That's a good question, and I'm embarrassed that I can't tell you that number. But I do know this. The 2 untapped bodies of students that, again, who I don't think were likely going to come to Vermillion that we are trying to work some strategies on that are Sioux Falls specific are those returning adult, some college but no degree population. And at some point the economy will slow down, and when that happens, historically people go back to college. And I'm not rooting for a recession. That I did not. But bear with me. But at some point it will happen, and so we're trying to have those strategies in place. And then we have a growing new American population in Sioux Falls, and a lot of those students are highly capable, but also uncomfortable leaving their communities. And so how can we make USD-Sioux Falls a welcoming place? They can still live at home, still have access to their communities, but we can help get them into the workforce as educated workers. We're working on some strategies to do that too. Yeah, Chris.
Sorry if I missed this, but of the future Sioux Falls high school graduates, do we have any idea like what percentage plan to go to college, what maybe aren't going to go to college, how that breaks out?
I can tell you that the Sioux Falls public school system specifically, and my data includes everything that touches them, includes the public or the private, but just in the Sioux Falls school district alone, 45% of last year's graduating class did not go on to post-secondary education anywhere. And that's one of the big challenges, not for the Sioux Falls campus, but for all of higher education in South Dakota. That number's got to come down. That number was 38% a few years ago. It was 33% I've been tracking this number since, for over a decade, since my Board of Regents office days, and it keeps going up. And that's not a problem that USD by themselves can fix. We need legislators, we need K-12 involved in that discussion to how to fix that one, but it's an alarming trend. Yeah.
In asking my students why they came to USD, what was the number one reason for coming, I assumed, it's the great faculty, gorgeous buildings, wonderful programs. But to my complete shock, the vast majority of them said price was the reason why they came here as opposed to other institutions. So what is the projected price for our programs in Sioux Falls?
Sure. Our tuition will go up every time main campus's tuition goes up. The one price advantage we have there is because we're a commuter campus, no one is paying room and board. So in that sense, it's a little cheaper. But our big challenge in Sioux Falls is, I think, the same price challenge that USD as a whole has. The state legislature has been fantastic in the last 4 years and has passed tuition freezes. We've been able to hold tuition, I think, 4 years in a row at the same level. We've stopped that period that I mentioned earlier where we were just raising tuition every time. What we don't have is a robust state scholarship system. So lacking that, we need to privately fundraise scholarships for students to buy that cost down, but both in Sioux Falls and for main campus. That is, I think, our biggest challenge to keep price reasonable.
We have time for one more question.
Yep. So sorry, I didn't mean to.
Does the USD student in Sioux Falls have the same student privileges as the USD student here?
Most of them, most of the privileges. The one things they don't have, our students do not pay the Sioux Falls campus do not pay the general activity fee. So they can't go to the wellness center. They don't get free tickets to the basketball and football games. Every now and then, the athletic department will make those available to our students, but on the regular basis, no. But beyond that, yes. They can check books out from the library. They have access to all the student services. Sometimes it's remote. Sometimes it's we do have some things on campus. But so the core basic privileges, not some of the special privileges.
So any future plans for trade school?
What, I'm sorry?
Trade?
So we are not on that campus because we are state constitution barred from doing that. However, 2 miles down the road from our campus is Southeast Tech. We partner with them on many things. In fact, we just updated a completion degree that's called a Bachelor's in Business and Leadership. And what that is, it's a Bachelor in Leadership and Management. If you got an associate degree at Southeast Tech in any field, come to us, take just 2 more years of college, and we will give you this completion degree. And so we work, and we have a lot of other collaborations with them as well. So thank you, everybody.